And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of the broadcast. Welcome back to the May Mayhem group stage, day number 1 replay cast. Just to reiterate once again, we did cover day 2 and day 3 live, but we missed out on day 1 at the time we were covering a different tournament, a different event. But because currently everyone is in the sky when it comes to pro players, they're all traveling currently back from Dallas. Today there is no live event, so may as well catch up on events that we missed out on. Catch up on the replays of day 1. Let's go. Just before the playoffs, of course. Now, I did see someone in the chat asking about tomorrow's broadcast. Originally, we were going to be covering the May Mayhem playoffs tomorrow, but EWC qualifiers were announced, and I believe they are clashing with the playoffs of the May Mayhem, so we might be rescheduling. We'll try to figure out what's going to go on and what's going to happen with the playoffs of the May Mayhem. Otherwise, we're going to be jumping into our fresh series into game number 1. Let's go. SHIN versus MaxPax is going to be coming up next. Game 1 is going to be on Pylon. Here we go. As we're going to be featuring our first and only Zurich player of the broadcast. Let's go, Bobby. Let's go. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Pylon, we have our Danish Protoss player. We have our blue Protoss representing Storm Gaming. It is MaxPax. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Zurich player, the red Zurich player himself from South Korea, representing Weibo Gaming. It is SHIN. We go. As we are going to be settling in. And again, SHIN, he does have his own unique style here of ZVP, and especially at the start of the patch, at the start of the season, we did see SHIN actually take down MaxPax multiple times, but a lot of it was with more quirky builds, with more aggressive styles. We'll see how SHIN will approach MaxPax now, many months later here, as MaxPax, of course, is one of the best Protoss players in the world. SHIN, likewise, is going to try to take up the mantle of Dark. You know, currently, there is a void when it comes to the hierarchy of top Zurich players in Korea. We have, of course, SHIN, Solar, and Rogue kind of vying for that number 1 spot, vying to kind of take out that mantle and you know, show us the light, show us the way when it comes to Korean Zurich play. And again, SHIN, he has his own unique style and unique approach to things. He has his own more specialized builds. He has his own, definitely is more stylistic and is separate apart from both Solar and Rogue. We often see a lot of more aggressive builds here in ZVP, and speaking of, so far does open with a delayed gas. Hatch pull into a much later gas geyser out of shit. Okay. So it does open up. With this, he'll be able to embrace faster queens, more delayed link speed, and we might even skip link speed. We'll keep an eye on SHIN when it comes to what is done with his gas. Now he does saturate. MaxPax just being as annoying as possible. MaxPax, before he did scout, he is aware of the later gas, of the later link speed. And back at him settling in. Gate expand into cyber core. So standard opener out of MaxPax, pylons in place. It looks like a Stargate opener out of our Protoss player. Again, MaxPax, he doesn't really want to deviate too much into Twilight Council play. We have seen MaxPax play Glaive Adepts a couple of times, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a rare sight. Is more of a rarity. SHIN claiming his third. Does claim his third base. From here, we should be seeing our Oracle on the way. And welcome one all to Pylon. Pylon is known for all-ins, is known for aggression. We have seen a lot of German taxis on this map. We've seen a lot of Wing Queen walks across the map as well. I'm not saying that SHIN has to go for an all-in, but this map does favor that kind of play and that kind of style. So that is going to be an option that's going to be available to SHIN. As we rarely see longer games on this map. Adept pokes in, Adept pulls away. And the SHIN are just droning, just saturating. see how he commits in. Likewise, Lings, they do poke it across now. They get eyes on the third base. So far, the Queens are keeping up with the Oracles. Spores are on the way. And Link speed does complete. So far, so good. Decent hull damage on the Oracle. Again, nothing too crazy yet so far. Just a standard setup here to MaxPax, going for his third base. From here, we should be seeing a Forge and a Twilight Council into plus on a Blink Stalker. Shin, he is building up some more links to threaten across the map. No drones yet at the third. MaxPax does confirm that's a lot of Lings in production. To 18 Lings. We spoke earlier about Link Queen Walk across the map. He's going for it. Yeah, he's going for the all-in. So Link Queen Walk is upon us. Is one of the possibilities that I did mention at the start. Alongside a German taxi, of course. Oh no! As the Oracle does rally in, takes a lot of hits, does not go down, but takes a lot of damage. And back in, what do we have to defend? Again, the third base is exposed, but it's not about the third, it's about the natural. As Shin is looking to at least deny the expansion. Oracle pokes in. Adept is going to go down. Queens are waddling forward. Behind this, Shin is going for a lair. They pull away. Pull away, they get a strand. Oh! They try to. Queens, it takes a while, but they finally get here. They do get across the map. Lings, they surround the expansion. Behind this, Shin is droning. Shin, he's droning up. He will break the third. And MaxPax, he can't stop this. He can't save the third base. Link is on the way. Spore is done back at home. The Oracle gets no damage. And from here, Shin should just walk back. Yeah. From here, he's just waddle back home. And now it's on Shin to drone up as hard as possible. Lings, they can't break the natural. MaxPax, a little bit greedy, does expand. Shin, he doesn't notice yet. Rotates over. I don't think Shin can stop this, though. He's going for it. Oh, yeah, no quite. Too many Oracles, too much energy. Shin has to respect it. Pulls away. From here, Shin is going into Link Hydra. Hydrogen is in production. Gases are being taken. And Shin going up to 5 gases. Now, because of all the damage that Shin has dealt, it would make sense here for Shin to go for a 3-base all-in. We should be seeing a 4th base just for Larva, and then Shin just drone up to around 66, and then just commit. That would make the most sense, but we'll keep an eye on Shin. Likewise, MaxPax, he's in a rough position. MaxPax, the pressure's on to get some damage done across the map. Blink is just now about to finish, and MaxPax, he needs to be active. Speaking of 3-base all-in, Shin does go for the forward base. The advantage of this base, of course, is the high-yield gas. The high-yield gas geyser is available. Lings, they collapse forward. Nice stasis. Stasis goes up. Oracles, they don't activate. Hydras are revealed. MaxPax, he trades well initially. It's not bad. Now pushing forward. Shin once again does start to step forward. Oh, nice around. He does catch 2 Stalkers. 3 Stalkers go down, getting up to 4. Very nice damage. Catches out 4 Stalkers. Here, Shin does pull away. Once again, locking down the army. Oh. Stasis goes up. Shin started stepping in. Catching out. Oh my god. Barely catching out a Stalker. Stalker goes down. MaxPax, he pulls away. He bled out a lot of Stalkers trying to be active. And look at the drone count. Shin is getting up to 70 workers. There it is now going for that high-yield gas geyser. Hydra upgrades on the way, plus on melee, Baneling speed. And he should be maxing out on Ling Bane Hydra. So we go. So far, SHIN being active. Here we go, we have Link Bane setting up here on the left-hand side. Again, SHIN is cutting workers here at 74. Does have the boosted economy with those high yield gas geysers. Baneling's going to be rolling in. Oh! Baiting at the stasis traps. Baneling's do roll forward. MaxPax still trying to recover after the early game. Still trying. High Templar goes down. Banelings, they don't quite get into the mineral line, but they trade well regardless. They catch High Templar. Storm popping up. Not bad. Banelings up. They do break through. Yeah, they break through. 0 High Templar remaining. Lings, they collapse on the Stalkers. And SHIN has done it. SHIN, he has done it. He has broken MaxPax. Again, just a really rough start here for the Danish Protoss. To have lost the third base, to have fallen to the initial Link Queen push, and GG gets called. SHIN takes game number 1. Whew. GG. GG well played. A spicy start here out of SHIN to open up with the initial Link Queen walk. Again, as you mentioned, Pylon is known for this. I say known for this, known for aggression. We spoke about German taxis, we spoke about Link Queen walks across the map. They can be very effective on this map. Why? The rush distance by ground is really short. It's also very direct. It's also, it takes a couple of steps to go from your natural to the third base of your opponent. Doesn't take long at all. And unfortunately, MaxPax, he wasn't able to really get anything ready for it. He was going for a bit of a later Twilight Council, a bit of a later Forge, so later Blink. We saw that he was being active with his Oracles, but he couldn't really muster an army to protect his third base. The third base, it was a lost cause. It was a lost cause. With that, GG. GG well played. SHIN does take a lead, and now we're stepping into game number 2. Let's go. Stepping into game 2. Game 2 is going to be on Incorporeal. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Incorporeal, we have the Danish Protoss player. We have the Blue Protoss representing Storm Gaming. Down in the series, we'll see if you can bounce back, we'll see if you can force the ace match. It is MaxPax. And spawning in the top left hand corner with a cheeky build in the last game. Catching off guard with the Link Queen walk across the map. We have the South Korean Zerg player leading the series 1-0, representing Weibo Gaming. It is SHIN. Webito Gaming. Let's go. Shout out to Monster. To appreciate it. As they do settle into Incorporeal, one of the larger maps in the map pool, longer rush distance by ground. When it comes to the build that we saw at SHIN last game, we do not expect to see another Link Queen walk. We don't expect it, not on a map as large as Incorporeal. Likewise, we do see that the 3 and 4 base setup here is a little bit more spread out, and it can be a little bit more difficult here to defend, but in general, your 3 base setup is very secure on this map, on Incorporeal. So I do favor MaxPax getting into the mid game here, and we'll see how SHIN will adjust his approach. This is not a bad map for mutas, for example. We have seen SHIN embrace muta play many a time in ZVP. Likewise, we could go for a 3 base kind of all in instead, a 3 base max out on Link Bane Hydra, which is what we saw last game, but we could initiate with that instead of spending time early on with Link Queen. We'll see. We shall see. So far we have our initial openers. This time we're going for a more standard gas timing. Last game it was delayed gas, this time earlier. So we can embrace earlier link speed. We go. Likewise, our player's just setting up. Stargate has been thrown down in the main. are going to be setting up. Likewise, just going to be the Oracle opener initially. Just Oracle opener into the third base. Like, again, MaxPax, he doesn't really want to deviate too much. He doesn't really want to mix up his openers too hard. As I mentioned before, like, it is not uncommon for MaxPax to go, like, Stargate into a third base, into early or Twilight Counter into Glaives. Sure, that's going to be available to him. That is still an option. But outside of that, we should just be seeing a standard style. Ooh, as MaxPax does go for the triangular third. Interesting. Does set up on the low ground. Low ground setup. Third base now being taken from from SHIN. Is going for his own third. Likewise, setting up, getting ready for the Oracles. Spore is not yet done. Oracle gets 1, 2 drones, getting up to 3. Not bad. 3 workers going down. Meanwhile, there's the Twilight Council. Twilight Council has been placed. Meanwhile, we are waiting for the Forge. As we are building up to 3 gates so far, building up to 4 gateways. I don't see a Forge yet. Now, this could just be a delayed Forge and early Blink. Otherwise, if there's no Forge entirely, we can go into Glaive Adepts. Did mention that is something that MaxPax does mix in every now and then. Oracle does hit the third, takes down 2 drones. Does pull away. Late Forge. Okay, late Forge should be Blink. So not Glaive, should be Blink here out of MaxPax. With this, it's going to be a safer opener. This means if SHIN were to go for something like a 2-base all-in, something like what we saw previously, it would mean that Blink would be done in time. Or Blink would be done in the middle of the fight. So earlier Blink, later upgrade, later Forge, I mean, for later +1. MaxPax securing his third. Across the map, +1 Carapace. Okay, interesting. So that's a peculiar start here. Lings, they do get across the map, but essentially, when it comes to the Evo Chamber, when it comes to upgrades, usually fast Evo Chamber screams +1 melee. +1 melee would indicate just Ling Hydra, where the player just skips roaches, a denial of roaches, a skipping of roaches, and just going straight into Ling Hydra. +1 range would indicate more of a heavy Hydra composition instead, going for like a Hydra all-in. +1 Carapace, I'm a little bit less familiar with in this matchup, just because the Carapace upgrades are typically a little bit less effective. Just because of the high damage output of Protoss units. I want to lean towards like maybe like Ling Roach Ravager, I suppose. That would make the most sense. Or even just Ling Ravager. MaxPax moving in. Stasis traps are set up. So far trading well. Blink is done in a couple seconds. Ooh, another stasis is baited. And SHIN is not droning. SHIN, he's not droning, not taking gases. This does look like a Ling Ravager. This is a ZVZ build. Okay. Ravagers are trying to morph in. And I don't think SHIN is going to drone up any further. We'll keep an eye on him. But he's not taking his gases. And not taking his gases. Collapse on the army. Stasis once again goes off. And the stasis traps are brutal. Ling's going to be forced back. SHIN, he does drone up a little bit. We have 2 drones on the way. So somewhat droning. MaxPax still trading well. Picking up roaches. And now SHIN is taking up, going into +2 Carapace. What is happening? Okay. This is when we're playing the long game, and the plan is going to kind of splitting into ultras. True. That's the plan. They around the Zealots. Getting on top of the third base. Causing a little bit more chaos. Which is likewise pushing forward, building up. Link coming from behind. I mean, a decent amount of Stalkers are going down. but SHIN cannot chase. Behind this, SHIN, he droned up to 73, so he's getting up to 4 base saturation, not bad. He has a decent economy. Behind this, going into Roach Hydra. And again, I guess Scarabase does affect and does bolster both Lings, Roaches, and Hydras. All things Zerg. The best way, but does support them all. Roaches, they get spotted. Jeez, that's a lot of Storm. That's how many? That's 6 High Templar. This is the problem here with going into Carapace like this, is that you know what doesn't care about your Carapace upgrades? Storm. Storm does not care. Oh my god. Like, Lings, Banelings, and Hydra alike, they will fall to the Storm. Roaches, they can tank, and I guess they're going to be tankier against the Storm. I suppose. But I'll be honest, I'm not entirely convinced, but let's go. Let's go. Fleet Beacon's on the way, MaxPax embracing Sky Toss, or at least the Mothership. Has one Fleet Beacon on the way, Prism into the main. Does unload. Meanwhile, the armies, they pass by each other. As SHIN going for the third, and MaxPax out in the open, forced back home. Nice storming on the Hydras. Another storm goes off. Oh, it's going to be a one-way trip. SHIN, he has to get out of here. Army gets spotted, tries to engage. But again, that's so many High Templar. That's 7 High Templar. Probes are going to be going down, but so are drones. And storm on the Roaches, storm on the Hydras. Across the map, Celtics wreak havoc. They overwhelm the middle line, 21 drone kills. And MaxPax, he will win this main army fight as well. Oh, trying to get on top of the High Templar. Gets one, gets two. Oh, not bad. Nice pickups. Takes down all the High Templar. Does force in the Archons. That was still 22 drone kills. MaxPax still has an economy. SHIN, lesser. SHIN is down 10 workers. SHIN, he lost his army. At least he was able to reset the High Templar counts, but they just warp in. It does go down. Is this from Wardy? This is from the May Mayhem. This is not a Wardy tournament. From my understanding, these matches have not been casted in English. Only in Korean. From my understanding. Yeah. Wardy casted he has the Wardy May tournament, which is not the May Mayhem. There's also the Rex March Madness, which is not the May Mayhem either. It's no. MaxPax dropping into the main. Likewise, the main army is going to be collapsing in. Storm does zone. SHIN. Oh god, Jesus. He wants a High Templar. Another storm. Oh, he goes through the storms. Yeah, GG gets called. GG gets called as he does go through every single storm. Again, SHIN behind this, he was all in. He had no economy, and MaxPax, he will shut him down, tying up the series 1-1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. With that, MaxPax does have the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Let's go. We're going into game 3. And again, SHIN, he had a unique style here. Again, I'm not too familiar with embracing and rushing into Carapace the way that he did. It did feel a little bit different. It did feel like, I mean, it's something that you see a lot more in other matchups against Terran or against Zerg. The reason why you rarely see prioritization of Carapace upgrades against Protoss is because of the high impact damage of Protoss units, of the Colossus, of the Immortal, of Storm, of Archons. Carapace upgrades, they're not really as meaningful because of that. The attack rate of most Protoss units is quite low, and the attack damage output is quite high, so again, Carapace just isn't really useful. Typically, there are some niche situations, some niche scenarios. I think an example of that is Carapace upgrades are useful in Hydra versus Interceptor, or Hydra versus Carrier. Because interceptors have have a higher attack rate and a lower damage output, it does mean that carapace is a lot more impactful against units like an interceptor, for example, in that kind of specific dynamic. So there are situations like that where it can be useful, but in general, less so. And yeah, it was interesting to see that kind of style. We saw that SHIN, he was a lot more committed going into Roach Hydra with that, and alas, wasn't quite able to pull it off. Was maybe hoping for a longer game state, but we saw that the Zealot Rumble was brutal. As SHIN was pushing, he lost 22 drones across the map, and he never recovered from that. He was just torn apart. And MaxPax, he was able to maintain his economic lead and tech up in towards SkyToss and just get into a longer game. MaxPax looking a lot more comfortable in game 2, especially compared to game 1. And now we go to the ace match. Let's go. We're stepping into game 3. Game 3 is going to be on Persephone. Let us go. As we are getting into the ace match. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Persephone, we have the Danish Protoss player. We have the blue Protoss representing Sidestorm Gaming. It is MaxPax. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Weibo Gaming. It is SHIN. Here we go. As we're here, we're back in the ace match. Welcome to Persephone. Persephone is a more aggressive map of the map. We spoke earlier how Incorporeal is one of the larger maps, does allow you to have a more secure 3 and 4 base setup, and MaxPax was very secure in the last game. He was a little more comfortable building up into the mid game, but here we're on Persephone. This is where the rush distance by air is shorter, the rush distance by ground is also shorter as well. Aggression is more favored on this map, and we'll see what SHIN goes for. My eyes are mainly going to be on SHIN here. Game 1, we did see a Ling Queen all-in. We don't expect to see that again, but we could see a German taxi, we could even see a standard game into mutas. Muta play is viable on this map because that shorter rush distance by air. That's also going to be an option available here to SHIN. We'll see. We shall see. Meanwhile, MaxPax just going for a safer build last game. As a reminder, he went for earlier Blink, earlier than normal. Went for earlier Blink Stalker. He went for delayed Forge and delayed +1 upgrades in favor of faster Blink. With that, he was able to be more aggressive, more safer, or just more safe. We'll see what this takes us. Once again, pylon gets thrown down. Pylon placement does scream Stargate opener, as typically we throw it down a little bit further back if we wanted to hide a Twilight Council. Typically. So it looks like a standard start out of MaxPax. No surprise there. Back at home, SHIN droning, SHIN saturating. From here does pull out of gas, getting into Ling speed, third base is on the way. There's that Stargate open that we did mention. Again, the pylon placement did scream Stargate, so far so standard. With this, we're working towards a third base. But then that's when we start to diverge. You know, what is going to be the timing of the Twilight Council? What's going to be the timing of the Forge? What's going to be the upgrade of choice from MaxPax? Likewise, we'll see if SHIN goes for the early Evo Chamber, if he goes into another upgrade again. This time, I'd be surprised if we see early Carapace again. We'll see. Leaning more towards melee or range, depending on the timing. That's a lot of Lings. That's 14 Lings on the way. We're cutting workers here at 27. As that's going to be a lot of Zerglings here. It looks like we're still droning up behind this. So these Zerglings, they're going to be on their own. They're not going to be supported by Queens. And the goal of these Lings is to, I would imagine, delay the third. Speaking of, the third base has just been thrown down. And here comes SHIN to force a cancel. So SHIN does go for the Ling Flood. And again, this is not designed to kill. It's designed to cancel. Oh, the Overlord trying to drag the Stalker out of position. Lings, they're moving in. They're going in a really interesting direction is what I will say, and the Overlord does go down. Stalker walks back. Lings don't quite catch anything. But they will wait for they're waiting for the Oracle. Yeah, okay, so they're waiting for the Oracle. The Oracle, of course, was providing high ground vision. The Oracle leaves, and Lings are ready to dive in. There we go, Oracle is now revealed. Meanwhile, behind this, only one Oracle. Very fortunate for SHIN. Only one Oracle. The Oracle does get into the base. At the same time, Lings they get us around. MaxPax going for it faster. Robo into Archons. This feels like a Temple Archives. For now, massive surround denies the third base. Very fortunate here from SHIN. If there was a second Oracle, the Oracle would have defended. First one races back home. SHIN pulls away. Yep, as we mentioned, it is going to be Archons. But that does mean that Max actually does fall behind. It does lose his third. Ay, ay, ay. Again, very fortunate for SHIN. There was only a single Oracle opener. From here, we're working towards an Archon drop. The Prism is on the way. The way this works is the Prism is lined up with the Temple Archives. By the time the Prism gets across the map, the Temple Archives is done, and you can open the High Templar for Archons. But again, this is going to hit later than usual, and likewise, the economy is also stifled. Behind this, SHIN is just droning. SHIN is just droning up. Saturating his third. Here come the Archons. Oh, they're now morphing in. And here comes that Archon drop. Again, if you see a Twilight Council with a Robo, that does typically mean Archons. Prism into the main. Queens are keeping up. Ooh, does get a Queen, not bad. Takes down a Queen. And doesn't quite get the other. Ooh, SHIN does pull away. And behind this, going for this. Okay, going for the Spire in the midst of all this. We did mention that Mutaplay is viable here on Persephone. We also said it was viable on Incorporeal. Oh. Lings to get us around. Now, the reason why Mutaplay is often seen as a response to Archon drops is because what does an Archon drop mean? That means, one, no additional Stargate production, but also no blink. Like, you do not go blink after an Archon drop, you go Archon drop into charge. That is like the typical trajectory when it comes to tech. When it comes to how gas is being spent and how minerals are being spent. So there's less of a response, less of an answer to Mutas. Because there are no blink stalkers. Of course, it is risky because there's a window, right? There's a window in time where MaxPax could just go for a 3-base all-in. He could move out with Archons and Chargelots and Storm and try to break SHIN before Mutas hit the field. But the Spire's almost done. The Spire's almost done. And MaxPax is not really ready for any kind of move out. He's still building up. You can see he's setting up defensively. That's a lot of stasis traps. It's a lot of stasis traps. The Archon's being active, but the Archon is not scouting. We got 9 Mutas on the way. Now SHIN, does he go for the Prism, or does he ignore the Prism and just go across the map? I mean, the Prism would be secure damage. You see the Mutas are backing up. Overlord goes down. Mutas, yeah, they avoid the Prism. They're going for the bases. What do we have at home to defend? We have a cannon somewhat in the main. We have a cannon also covering the natural as well. So we have some decent defensive setups here. MaxPax, good read. In the sense that he knows that he's vulnerable to something like Mutas. But Mutas, they get past the cannon. Get into the mineral line. 5 probes do go down. They rotate back around. Okay, another 10 workers. Aye, aye, aye. Yeah, 10 probe kills. Mutas to head back over. Behind this SHIN, he's making more Mutas. He's doubling down. +1 air attack. +1 air attack. Is going mass Muta. Takes down the Oracle. Nice pickup. SHIN, at times, he does switch into Master Roach Ravager, but that is not the case here. He is committing. He has some roaches to support the army, but going into melee, not range. So Lingbane Muta out of SHIN. Against a storm heavy composition is risky. It's very risky. And here comes MaxPax. SHIN almost forcing it all in, as it looks like SHIN is going to hit the fourth, and MaxPax, he does not turn around, and he shouldn't. We commit. Let's go! We're going for the base trade. Mutas into the main. Ling Roche towards the fourth base, and the main Protoss army right down the center. Right down mid. Mutas over on the main. Fourth base, that's a kill. SHIN, he does commit across the map, going for the third. And the base trade, that has begun. That's a lot of cannons, though. Oof. Yeah, a lot of cannons. Production's going to be falling. Meanwhile, I believe that's a Roach one going down. No more Roaches, just pure Ling Muta. Ling Muta out of SHIN. Boys, they pull away. Oh my god. Storm on the ramp. Again, there are just so many Immortals. They destroy buildings so quickly. But do we have any buildings out on the map? Specifically for MaxPax. He recalls. Does recall back home. Recalls into the natural. Takes down the Roaches. Takes down the Lings. And Mutas, they head towards the third. They already dealt with the main. The main base already went down. MaxPax, he abandons the base trade. And he still has an economy here. At least, I spoke too soon. Nah, never mind. Never mind. 21 extra probe kills. Mutas, they go back into the main to make sure that everything stays depowered. MaxPax still has an army in the main base as well, across the map. He still has some forces. Oh my god, the storms. Oh Jesus. The storms, they summoned on the Mutas, but they're still alive. Yeah, they're still barely one more storm. One more storm is all he needs. There's one more High Templar moving in. But the Mutas, they do get away. Meanwhile, the boys are being pulled. It's a shaky defense back at home, but the spawning pool is still alive. Mutas, they get out of the main. They rotate back around. Storm, they load up in the prism. Stalkers go down. Again, it's a messy defense. At the same time, Zealots, they do hit the forward base. SHIN down to 30 drones. That's still double the worker count of MaxPax. Oh. Storm once again turns away. Mutas further into the main. Another storm grazes the army, but at this point, the Hydras, the Mutas, they've already regenerated their HP. They've already regened. Oh my god, another storm. You can see just one more storm. Ordo Mass doesn't have it. I mean, he does have the High Templar, but barely not within range. And Mutas, they barely get away once again for the second time. Whew. And behind this, the Stargate finally gets repowered. Finally, we get one Phoenix in production. But that one Phoenix has a lot of work to do. Has a lot of work to do here. Meanwhile, that's going to be a kill on the third. How many Mutas in total? 28. 28 Mutas. Almost purely Muta when it comes to the army. As a handful of Lings back at home, gases are being taken. We have a 2 base economy. 2 base economy out of SHIN. Meanwhile, a 1 base economy out of MaxPax. And SHIN, he is still making Mutas because the Spire is still alive. It's bleeding out, but the Spire is still alive. Ooh, takes down the pylon. Takes down the pylon. Lings are ready on the right hand side. SHIN still rotating around. West tempting to go for the prism. Very tempting. MaxPax is up to 3 Phoenixes. Only 3. Getting up to 4, but he's again stuck on 1 base. SHIN now taking his own third. Again, that base is still bleeding out. Thankfully, there we go. Overlords will spread creep. They will save the Spire. And hopefully save the spawning pool. As the prism goes down. We have Hydras on the way behind this. At a certain point, like going mass Muta, it's just so risky. It's just such a fragile composition. So SHIN, he is diversifying. Oh no! Catches out the Phoenix. Phoenix goes down. GG gets called. And with that, SHIN, he will take the series 2-1. And he will take down MaxPax. And yeah, have good standing here in the groups. GG. Oh my god. Whew, GG, well played. A very intense series here between SHIN and MaxPax. Again, we saw that honestly game 3 was quite fortunate for SHIN. Winding it back, remember what happened. SHIN, he opened up with a Ling Flood. And if you remember, he was keeping the Lings at bay. He was waiting for the Oracle to move out, and something unexpected happened. not the Ling Flood, not the Oracle moving out, but there was only one Oracle. There was only one Oracle because MaxPax behind it, he was going for a Stargate opener into Archon drop. So only one Oracle. What I mean by that, if there was a second Oracle coming out, which would happen in a standard game, then the second Oracle would arrive just in time to save the Nexus. But there was no second Oracle. So Lings, they came in from behind, they got on top of the third base, and they did get a kill on the third, or they got a cancel. They contained MaxPax. MaxPax had a very rough start to the game because of that. With that denied third, he was stuck on 2 bases. And with that, SHIN had the advantage. He had the advantage. With that advantage, what they do with it, he went into mutas. He was able to go unscouted into mass muta and just tear MaxPax apart. Again, MaxPax, he was behind from the opener. He was behind from losing the third base, and he never quite recovered. We ended up in a base trade, and I mean, anything could have happened in that base trade. Anything could have happened. It was a chaotic base trade, but MaxPax did make the decision to recall. He killed the natural, recalled back home. I'm not opposed to the recall, but I think a key moment there, if you remember, what was also at that natural, he did kill the base. He killed the lair, I believe that was. Yeah, that was the lair at the natural. The Spire was there as well, but he didn't know. Like, he didn't get behind the mineral line, but that's what the Spire was. If he had sniped the Spire, then recalled, I mean, maybe he would have had a better chance to defend. If you remember, at the time, SHIN, he was still just pumping out pure muta, even towards the end, just still making more mutas. And because he had killed the lair as well, that might have been enough to slow down SHIN and for maybe the MaxPax to recover, but it's really hard to call just because, again, it was a chaotic base trade. Anything could happen. GG. GG well played. Regardless, SHIN, he does claim the series, does take down MaxPax. That leads us into the final series of the broadcast. Here we go.